Notorious drug lord Joaquin El Chapo Guzman was back in federal court today. This morning, he was transported from his cell in Manhattan to a Brooklyn courtroom. This is his third hearing in the United States. Pat, this was the third hearing. What was it about?
Yes, this hearing had two major issues. One is that the lawyers were asking the judge to allow them to share the same space at the correctional facility in Manhattan.
When the trial of Joaquin El Chapo Guzman commenced, his defense counsel claimed he is the victim of a massive scheme orchestrated by the Sinaloa cartel's true head, El Mayo. Prosecutors in the United States say that they have hundreds of thousands of pages of evidence and multiple witnesses to prove that Guzman was the true leader of the Sinaloa cartel and that he was responsible for decades of violence and the smuggling of billions of dollars worth of illegal drugs around the world. The world's attention is focused on the fabled El Chapo creature, but not on Mayo Zambada. Many consider Ismael Zambada Garcia, often known as El Mayo, to be one of the most successful drug traffickers in history. While El Chapo was the face of the Sinaloa cartel, most consider him to be the frontman for the real boss, El Mayo, who has been involved in the drug trade for over 50 years without ever being imprisoned. He is thought to be worth more than $10 billion and hasn't been seen in public in years. He is a phantom to the law enforcement and one of the best narco stories of all time. So in today's video, you will find out how he accomplished it and who was involved. Who exactly is the Zambada character though? How, therefore, did a man in his 70s come to control the most infamous drug cartel in history? In the early 1990s, Zambada assisted in the formation of the Sinaloa cartel from the ruins of the Guadalajara cartel. Miguel Angel Felix Gallardo, popularly known as El Padrino or the Godfather, led the Guadalajara cartel in the 1980s. At the time, it was Mexico's most infamous criminal organization, controlling nearly all drug trafficking between Mexico and the US. Gallardo was captured by US authorities in 1989 and sentenced to 37 years in jail, which he is still serving. Following his incarceration, the Guadalajara cartel was split into two major factions: the Tijuana cartel, led by his nephews, and the Sinaloa cartel, led by a limited core of organizational leaders. Guzman and Zambada were among those who helped build the Sinaloa cartel from the ruins of the Guadalajara cartel.
Bueno, de la edad de 15 años en adelante, desde donde yo soy, que es el municipio de Badiraguato, yo me crié en un rancho que se llama La Tuna. Pues, la manera de tener para comprar la comida, para sobrevivir, es sembrar amapola, marihuana.
Consolidated power in the 1990s. The Sinaloa cartel rose to prominence in the 1990s. Part of such a rise might be ascribed to Zambada's ability to create alliances and coordinate with other former Guadalajara cartel members. Zambada was a key member of the deadly Amado Carrillo Fuentes organization, popularly known as the Juarez Cartel, according to the US State Department. In the 1990s, he collaborated with Amado Carrillo Fuentes, and when Fuentes died in 1997, he and Guzman assisted the Sinaloa cartel in absorbing several of its divisions. It was not a peaceful pacification, but by the end of the decade, Zambada had risen to the top. In the late 1990s, Zambada Garcia emerged as one of Mexico's most powerful drug traffickers, capable of trafficking multi-ton quantities of cocaine, marijuana, and heroin. In 1998, he was indicted by Mexico's Attorney General's office. He is still at large. Built a powerful drug trafficking network. He established a robust drug trafficking organization with the purpose of transporting illicit substances from Colombia to the United States. According to the statements made by the State Department, Zambada established a network that was responsible for smuggling cocaine from Colombia to Mexico using boats and potentially submarines. After arriving in Mexico, the drugs were transported to New York using trucks, vehicles, and airplanes. It is said that he controls key cells in the states of Arizona, California, Illinois, and New York. But Zambada uses his billions of dollars to gain a foothold in more legitimate businesses as well. According to the State Department's findings, he has substantial holdings in real estate and has made investments in a variety of companies located in Mexico. The FBI captured him in 2003. Guzman and a number of other key figures in the Sinaloa cartel were also captured alongside him, after being charged by a grand jury with a variety of offenses connected to the drug trafficking enterprise run by the Sinaloa cartel. Zambada is still at large.
Arriba!
He's wanted in the United States, and the Mexican government has said it will start formal extradition proceedings, although legal experts have indicated that the process could be a lengthy one.
As Mexico waged the war on drugs, it aided the Sinaloa cartel in expanding its operations. In the year 2006, Mexican President Felipe Calderón made significant advances in the country's ongoing struggle against drug cartels. However, the majority of the government's efforts have been directed towards combating the Sinaloa cartel's most significant competitor, the Tijuana cartel. Zambada was able to recognize a good chance when he saw one. He took advantage of the Tijuana cartel's vulnerability and engaged in a conflict with the beleaguered cartel in order to gain control of the territories that were under their jurisdiction. The Sinaloa organization has maintained its position as the most powerful drug cartel in the country during the past decade, while the Tijuana cartel has gradually lost its influence. According to Bloomberg, its yearly revenues are estimated to total approximately $11 billion. As a result of Guzman's extradition to the US, Zambada collaborated with Guzman for a significant amount of time in order to grow the Sinaloa cartel into the most powerful and financially successful criminal organization in Mexico. But upon Guzman's arrest and subsequent extradition to the US in 2017, a power void arose in the organization.
Rob, this is an uphill battle for El Chapo, but the man nicknamed Shorty tonight is in a do-or-die situation. The convicted Sinaloa cartel boss, who was responsible for 80% of Chicago's illegal drug trade, trying to do something that would convince a court he was wronged by U.S. prosecutors or die in prison on a life sentence for racketeering conspiracy.
There was a battle for dominance between three different groups, and the ruins were littered with dead bodies. Damaso Lopez Nunez, who assisted Guzman in escaping prison twice, together with his sons Jesus Alfredo and Ivan Archibaldo, as well as El Chapo's brother Aureliano El Guana Guzman, were the ones in charge of this group. They are still engaged in their deadly quarrel with one another. However, Zambada is the glue that keeps the organization together. Despite their competition for leadership of the group, the three continue to operate their respective drug trafficking companies. According to AFP, Zambada acts as a mediator between them and keeps things in check without taking a side in the conflict. Experts agree that Zambada is working to improve the efficiency of the firm. Mike Vigil, who served as the head of foreign operations for the DEA in the past, said in an interview with Bloomberg News that he has a fairly broad portfolio. Even though he may just have completed elementary school, he has obtained an education on par with that of Harvard from some of the most successful, knowledgeable, and astute drug lords that Mexico has ever had. But he's not expected to stay in charge. According to recent reports, Zambada has taken refuge in the mountainous region of Sinaloa, Mexico. Even though he is the current CEO of the company at the age of 70 and with diabetes, it is not anticipated that he will continue to be in charge indefinitely. According to Vigil's statements to Bloomberg, "I have gone off into those mountains, and it is very tough to apprehend someone." Mayo Zambada is widely regarded as one of the most cunning and successful drug traffickers Mexico has ever produced. But there are also rumors that Elmayo is already dead. How do you feel about it? Is Elmayo really the boss, or is he just a ghost that El Chapo made up in a last-ditch effort to save himself? Are you ready for more inside crime stories? Watch our latest update.
Over the past decade, Albanian crime groups have overtaken all